Welcome back to Football News. We post daily football updates, so please subscribe so you never miss any updates. Now let's get into the video. It was early August when Christian Eriksen left his house in Odense, on the Danish island of Funen, and headed to the airport to catch a flight to Milan for the start of a long goodbye. He had people to see. He knew it was going to be hard, and perhaps he also wanted to have a little bit of time to collect his thoughts before some of the more difficult and emotional conversations. Visitors to Sempion Park in central Milan might have been pleasantly surprised to see Eriksen taking his 3-year-old son, Alfred, for a bicycle ride amid all the greenery. He took some souvenir snaps, signed a few autographs, and breathed the air of a city that had shown him so much affection since his life changed immeasurably at the European Championship in June. But everything was tinged with sadness, too. Eriksen had arranged to visit the training ground in Appiano Gentile where, a few weeks earlier, hundreds of Inter fans had stood behind metal railings to sing his name. "Come on, Christian Eriksen," over and again. Eriksen's teammates knew he was coming. The staff, too. They had his number 24 shirt waiting for him, with his name emblazoned across the shoulders. They applauded him onto the pitch. There were bear hugs, speeches, and a team photograph outside the main building. Everybody looked pleased to see him looking so healthy, so tanned, so normal. Even then, however, Eriksen must have known he would never get the chance to wear that shirt again in San Siro. He would have known the medical rules in Italy meant there was no way back, even for a Serie A champion. He was there to say hello, but, in another sense, this was goodbye. When the official announcement was made last week, it was 178 days since that game for Denmark, in the early evening Copenhagen sunshine, when Eriksen took a routine touch of the ball and fell forward, almost in slow motion, in cardiac arrest. It was the day, to quote his Denmark head coach, Kasper Hjulmand, that our best player, our best friend, the heart of our team nearly died. Technically, Eriksen was dead. His heart had stopped. In the words of one of the medics who brought him back to life, he was gone. And now, 6 months later, Eriksen has left Inter, amid emotional tributes from his colleagues. Because it is forbidden in Italy for anybody who has been fitted with a pacemaker to play professional football. Martin Schutz, Eriksen's long-term agent, says he has already had offers from 4 European clubs and that the future is bright for a player who will turn 30 on Valentine's Day. Except, of course, this is not just an ordinary case of an elite footballer picking a new club. Is Eriksen ready? Even ignoring, for one moment, all the medical analysis, how is his state of mind? How do we even begin to understand what the last 6 months have been like for the player whose artistry used to thrill the crowds at Tottenham? The most important thing is that Christian is still alive. Morten Olsen, the manager who gave Eriksen the first of what would become a century plus of caps in 2010, tells The Athletic. And now the question for Christian and his family is, what now? He has to ask the doctors, and then he has to ask himself and his family. We can only hope all of us who love football, who love the game to be played in a nice way and love this kind of player, that he makes the right decision. In Denmark, they have been waiting for news patiently, respectfully. Ever since it became clear that the events of June 12 did not necessarily mean Eriksen's career would be denied a happy ending. Eriksen's collapse was the start of a remarkable summer for the people of this Scandinavian country, and particularly the supporters who followed the national team with such fervour and emotion. Yet it did not just end with Denmark's extra-time defeat to England in the semi-finals of a tournament that will always be remembered for the traumatic scenes, on live television, during their opening group game against Finland. From September to November, Denmark's final 4 home World Cup qualifiers at Copenhagen's Parken Stadium all sold out. They won them all en route to booking their place at the finals in Qatar next November, and it is probably fair to say no national team in Europe has played in a more spectacular atmosphere. The matches have been joyful parties, celebrating the team, the country, and, of course, Eriksen himself. But the main character has been absent. Everyone would have loved to see Eriksen, and to be given the opportunity to show him how much he means to them. Yet Eriksen has preferred to keep his distance. He has not said a word to the Danish public, apart from the brief statement and thumbs-up photograph he put out on social media 3 days after his life-saving treatment. He has disappeared, and his absence has created an aura of mystery around him, says one Danish commentator. He has become a ghost, and the Danes have longed to see, hear, and feel him in flesh and blood, to be assured that he is all right. 2 more players have collapsed during matches in Denmark this season: Wessam Abu Ali of 2nd Tier Vendsyssel and Ahmed Dagum of Kolding in the 3rd Division. Both recovered, but on each occasion it reminded the Danish people how close they were to losing a national hero. At the same time, the media and public have respected Eriksen's wishes to be left in peace. Eriksen has always been an ordinary guy with an extraordinary talent. He has never sought attention for anything other than his uncommon ability on a football pitch, and he has been given the space he needs. It's up to Christian, Jolmond has said when questioned about him. We'll take it at his pace. Perhaps we should not be too surprised that Eriksen has needed time to adjust, psychologically, when there have been so many changes in his life. Fabrice Muamba stopped breathing for 78 minutes after a heart attack, aged 23, in a game for Bolton Wanderers at Tottenham in March 2012. His survival was a miracle. Muamba's playing career was ended, and he will never forget what it was like, shortly after being released from hospital, when he went back to Bolton's training ground and it all hit home. There was my locker right in front of me, with my name in big letters. I was standing in a deserted changing room and I prayed, "Please God, let me get back to doing this every single day. I want this routine back." I opened my locker and it was empty apart from some mail. Nothing else. No kit or boots, which I was pleased about because I didn't want to cry. I didn't want more of a reminder about what I was missing. Muamba can remember a stranger stopping him in the street and stroking his face because she wanted to touch the miracle. Taxi drivers asked for photographs and refused to take his money. Hotels offered to upgrade him, free of charge, to superior rooms. An invitation arrived for the final of hit reality TV show Britain's Got Talent. A simple trip to his local Tesco supermarket became a challenge. Because of the number of people who wanted to ask if he was okay. It wasn't necessarily the life that Muamba saw for himself, and it isn't the life Eriksen wants either. He wants to play football, says Olsen. I had Christian as a player for almost 6 years with the national team, and he was always one of the guys who stayed on the pitch at the end of the training session. It was the same with Ajax, with Tottenham, and surely Inter, too. He just loves football. He loves to play football. It's not about money, it's about whether he can continue to do the thing he loves. Olsen had been diagnosed with COVID-19 at the start of June and was unable to be in Copenhagen for the Finland match. Instead, he was watching from home as his former player, a 5-time Danish Footballer of the Year, collapsed in front of a global TV audience of tens of millions. Anybody who loves football, and loves Christian, will never forget the shock, Olsen says. It was 1 hour when everybody's hearts stopped still, waiting for something positive. I spoke to Christian 2 weeks later and I know he would like to play again. He is training a little now. That's the first question for him, can I join the top football again? Maybe he can look at the example of Daley Blind, who he played with at Ajax. Daley also had a heart problem and was fitted with a pacemaker but is still playing at a top level. It's how, mentally, Christian is dealing with it, too. In one moment, his entire life changed. He is only 29 and normally this would be the best time in a footballer's life. Normally, I would say. He still has 4 or 5 years to go, but I don't want to say it because he must make the decision himself. For now, Eriksen's new routine involves keeping fit on the training pitches at Odense, his first club. Eriksen came through Odense's youth system before signing for Dutch giants Ajax at 16. Odense is where it all began, and the news of him kicking a ball was of considerable excitement to the locals. That apart, however, there have been only 2 public appearances in Denmark. Every interview request has been turned down. He is working really hard and I'm glad he has been able to do that during the last few months in silence, says Skuts, his agent. We've had so many requests for interviews, documentaries, all kinds of initiatives, especially from the UK. He is still so popular in Britain, and not only with Spurs fans. Eriksen did agree to go on a TV show to help raise money for needy children as part of a charity campaign involving several wives and girlfriends of Danish players, including his partner, Sabrina Kvist Jensen. He did not speak on camera but appeared beside Jolmond to show his support. More recently, he was among the players attending the funeral of Lars Hawk, Denmark's goalkeeper at the 1986 World Cup. Hawk was the national team's goalkeeping coach for many years and had a special connection with Eriksen as a club legend at Odense. His autobiography, published after the Euros this summer, offers his own insight into a tournament of exhilarating highs and excruciating lows. How, for example, did Eriksen's teammates recover from such a traumatic experience to navigate a passage to the semi-final? We were visited by Christian and his whole family, and that was the crucial moment for the squad's healing, Hawk wrote. He came with Sabrina, their 2 children, and her mother. Look, now he is just sitting there, alive, Sabrina said to me at one point, because she had not understood it at all yet. The rest of us also had to go to him, all the time, to feel him and hug him a little, but it was just good old Christian who was back, and it was such a nice moment. It was huge for us because it felt so normal and, in my eyes, it was the big turning point. A few days after the tournament, Hawk drove from his holiday home in Kerteminde the half-hour back to Odense and saw Sabrina talking outside her house to Alina, wife of Simon Kjaer, the Denmark captain who had helped to save his teammate's life after he collapsed. They saw him, too, and invited him inside. I walked in and found Simon and Christian out on the terrace. It was great to see them again. They talked about having a beer. Do you drink beer at 12 o'clock? What's going on? I asked. Well, I'll have one, too. We ended up sitting out there drinking beer and coffee and talking about everything that had happened. Since then, Christian and I have visited each other a couple of times and, together with his little boy Alfred, he drove to Kerteminde one day, where we ran around and played football in the garden for an hour and talked. Every time I get a little lighter inside and I feel like hugging him an extra time. Maybe that's how he feels about me too. Hawk had been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer in 2018. Eriksen's friend and colleague died on December 8 at age 62 and, once again, Danish football shed tears for one of its own. To understand why Italy is particularly sensitive about footballers playing with heart issues, it is worth remembering the tragedies that have shaped this attitude. In particular, Davide Astori's death still looms large over Italian football. Astori, the 31-year-old captain of Fiorentina, suffered a heart attack in the team hotel before a game against Udinese in 2018. Earlier this year, the doctor who had cleared him to play was given a 1-year suspended prison sentence in the Italian courts. Italy has also had to mourn Pier Mario Morosini after the 25-year-old Udinese player, while on loan at Livorno, suffered a fatal heart attack on the pitch against Pescara in 2012. But it goes as far back as 1977, when Renato Curri, a Perugia midfielder, suffered a cardiac arrest during a game against Juventus. Curri, who was only 24, died in hospital. Today, Perugia's stadium carries his name. In Eriksen's case, it is also true that even the experts are uncertain about what specifically caused his heart to malfunction during that game against Finland. 6 months ago, Professor Sanjay Sharma, one of the world's leading cardiologists, is on record to say that the playmaker was checked annually and returned normal results. It was a shock to all of us, Sharma tells The Athletic. We knew about his cardiac health, or at least we thought we did. This came out of the blue. We don't know what went wrong that day. Sharma, who chairs the Football Association's expert cardiac committee, speaks from a position of authority given that Eriksen was once his client while a Spurs player. But it is a sensitive subject and, at times, emotions have been running high. His agent rang me and was really angry with me for saying that Eriksen's tests were normal, says Sharma. I said, look, I had to say his tests were normal. I couldn't turn round and say his tests were abnormal, but we let him carry on, because that would have been ridiculous. In Italy, every player has to receive an idoneata, an annual medical certificate that must adhere to the protocols of CASIS, the Cardiological Organizational Committee in Sport. The rules are clear: nobody with an implantable cardioverter defibrillator, ICD, is allowed to play football at a professional level. It is simply not contemplated, and part of that is because medical staff assume responsibility when signing off each player and are liable if anything goes wrong. In Italy, there is often surprise that other countries have more lax rules in this regard. This is why, in the summer of 2004, Inter terminated the contract of Khalil Fadiga when a heart complaint was flagged in his medical tests. Fadiga, a Senegal international, signed for Bolton in the September He was 30 then and played professionally for another 7 years with Bolton, Derby County, Coventry City, and 3 clubs in Belgium. As for Blind, the former Manchester United player was diagnosed with a heart condition after feeling dizzy during an Ajax game against Valencia in the Champions League in December 2019. He was fitted with a pacemaker and now, at the age of 31, is still winning caps as a regular starter for the Netherlands. Ajax are one of the clubs now being linked with Eriksen. There is legitimate hope, therefore, that Eriksen can resume playing at the highest level and add to his 109 caps. It's too early to say where Christian's future lies, says Scoots, because of special regulations in Italy, which have existed for decades. The only thing we know for sure is that it will not be in Italy. But things are good. He is feeling good. All his physical results are positive. All that can really be said for the time being is that it has been difficult for Inter to part company with a player who contributed so much to their 19th Scudetto last season and had a contract to the summer of 2024. I wish him the best of luck, says Simone Inzaghi, who succeeded departed title winner Antonio Conte as Inter coach 9 days before Eriksen's collapse. It would have been a great pleasure for me to coach Christian. I'm disappointed I won't get the chance to do it. Javier Zanetti's tribute to Eriksen spoke volumes. Your smile, your elegance, your upbringing, Inter's vice president wrote on Instagram. Like a great man and a top professional, you have the class and values of yesteryear. The loving bond between Christian, the club, the fans, and everyone else in the world who carries black and blue in their hearts will never be broken. The same applies to the followers of the Denmark national team when it comes to the wearer of their number 10 shirt. It is not my choice, Hoffenheim. Winger Jacob Brun Larsen complained, when he was asked to be the number 10 for last month's final World Cup group game away to Scotland. I've said I would rather have a different number than Christian's. I asked our kit man after the match why it was not possible to get another number, because it is not mine. UEFA rules mean Denmark have to use shirts numbered from 1 to 23 if they are to name a full 23-strong squad. Nobody, however, has felt comfortable wearing Eriksen's number. Nobody has wanted it permanently. And, though they are reluctant to get too far ahead of themselves, the people of Denmark would like to think it might be back in Eriksen's possession by the World Cup next year. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe for